Please enjoy this feature presentation of the Crooked River Radio Network. This program is rated for all audiences.
Four guys on sports. Four guys on sports. Four guys on sports starts now.
Well. Here we are.
Yeah, buddy, here we are.
Yep.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Feels kind of strange to be back, don't it?
A little bit.
Yeah, we've been on a bit of a hiatus with this show, and I'd like to see it's not going to be the last time, but I got something coming up in 2 weeks. I gotta go do.
Yeah.
It's Amateur Radio Field Day.
Well, that time already, huh? Wow.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm going out after the show today. I got to go out there.
Is that at the same place as last year?
No, I'm going to be out at Woodridge Middle School.
Oh, okay.
My club's doing the day out there. We've got it all lined up and everything. Okay. And it's all lined up and ready to go. We just got to get there.
Okay.
So what's been happening with you guys?
Not much. Just grinding away day to day.
Yeah, I hear that. I guess I could put us both on here.
Yeah. There you are.
Of course. Let's make it so you can actually see me this time.
There you go.
Good. Look at that.
Yeah.
Nobody ever told me I don't have a face for radio.
There you go. Yeah.
And I'm sure as hell not getting any sympathy from this group either.
Not quite.
Oh, brother. Got a lot happening in sports. You had the NBA playoffs, and it looks like the Pacers are going to go all the way there.
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They pulled a tight one out the last night.
You just got lucky there, man.
I'm going with OKC.
Yeah. SGA,
Yeah, he's just different.
And we got the NFL starting. The wheels are slowly starting to turn there.
Yes, sir.
And then we got even got some NBA or NBL stuff. Or NBL, that's better. And my Indians aren't doing too well. They're getting their asses beat most of the time.
Yeah, they're actually they're decent. Second place, I think.
Yeah. But
you got the hottest team in baseball in our division, Detroit. So
yeah, Detroit's actually for a change coming up. I remember that when that team used to never win anything.
Man, that's why they're winning now, because they're getting all their talent come up.
They were actually worse than the Indians or
Good,
any of the Ohio teams.
Yes.
But yeah, don't know where to start first.
Let's see what we got going on in there.
I guess we could go to a little bit of Shador news.
Okay. What's up?
It looks like, I think at this point, they're going to have both rookies there. They pretty much got to do that. But because that would be a wasted draft pick if they just traded it off. And I don't know. I think there's a rule that once you draft somebody, you got to have them for a full contract. Isn't that true?
I don't. I'm not sure on that. Because you can get released during training camp and they usually put them on practice squad or something.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see what happens there.
Yeah.
But I think Pickett's looking pretty good.
Well,
The idiot's not going to be here. And then you have Sanders and and Joe Flacco. And Flacco's here. He came in the one interview I saw. He says, "I'm not here to take and teach anybody. I'm here to take and I want to run this team."
mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Just hope he can make out with what he's got. He is getting a little older, but yeah, we'll see what happens. As far as the Shador stuff, though, I guess he's looking pretty good in practice. And it would really, that would be a standout type of, that'd be a glory story, I guess you could call it, if he actually makes the team from the 150 or 144th pick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's kind of and I would think that he would have that attitude anyway, is that I'm going to show everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And if he does that, it kind of, it gives a middle finger to everyone who
Doubted him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people who doubted him the most.
Yeah. And I think that to me, he needs to take it as I got something to prove. I think I would,
Yeah, but it comes down to he's going to have some kind of patience. And I don't know that he does. I mean, just the way he was spouting off there at the draft and everything. I just don't know that he's got the patience to be able to sit on a bench if they decide not to take him or pick him.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting one, I think, is going to be be Pickett, because I thought that was going to be Pittsburgh's quarterback. There was nobody better,
Uh-huh.
at least according to them, anyway. But as
the one that nobody's talking about is Gabriel.
and from what I've seen of him, he looks pretty decent.
Yeah.
But then again,
We'll see who comes out in the end, though. I think.
yeah,
It'll probably be Flacco and then one of the two rookies and then Pickett. So
yeah, they can put the other
get traded.
They can put the other rookie on practice squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least till
yeah. And I think being me, I honestly believe that with Shador, I think he's good. He has a lot of things that I like, but I don't think humility is one of his characteristics. I would say.
Well, one thing that they've been talking about him right now lately, though, is they said he's been not really playing with the first team like the others have.
Yeah.
Oh, that kind of sort of tells you what they're planning on for him anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
He might be the one that ends up on the practice squad.
Either that or hey, yeah, more like that's what it sounds like. But again, what choice does he have?
Okay.
At this point, we'll see.
We'll see.
I don't know if they put his ass on the practice squad. You can expect his old man's going to be raising holy hell.
Mm-hmm. And part of the reason that things are going like they're going is because of his old man.
Yeah,
But
I know that.
then again, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I'm pretty sure he's extremely confident.
Well, you know, his other son, was it
Tyler,
Jacksonville that got him?
No, Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, that was it. And you never hear nothing. There's been no rumor about him at all.
And he was picked late in the draft, though.
yeah. And you know what? From what I've seen of the other kid, the other son,
It comes down
I
to
don't expect that much. I
There
really
was a
didn't.
lot of overhype on both of them, I thought.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
you know, you got that. I kind of get this. You have that LeBron syndrome, where anything that comes out of LeBron he's expected to be just like his father. Well,
Yeah, Bronny. Yeah,
And Bronny and Bryce.
yeah, yeah. And you know, yes and no. You know, I think people understood, but they understood with the James kid. They understood that he was not ready. No one thought he was ready but Bron. You know, and then he wasn't proven. The thing that we can say about Sanders boys is they both they had impactful college careers, their collegiate careers,
yeah.
especially you know. Whereas Bron's kid, heck, he didn't even play a full season. He had some serious health issues going on there as well. You know, so we really didn't get to see a good sample of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes time to gel some of that stuff. I guess the next biggest NFL news, and I hate to do this, at least this early in the show, the biggest news that I heard this week come from
Pittsburgh sucks! Pittsburgh sucks! Pittsburgh sucks! Pittsburgh sucks!
Now you notice I said the word Pittsburgh three different times without playing that.
Uh-huh.
But the biggest news came out, and I guess Aaron Rodgers is going to be their quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
What do y'all think?
It's going to be interesting.
I'm going all the way out there. I'm gonna say that I think he's seen better days.
Oh, I think so too.
You know, I think he's on that. He's definitely in the
Downturn.
the twilight of
He's probably there just to teach up Will Howard.
And that was another draft pick that kind of, you got to go, But as far as he's probably going to be along the lines of a Flacco. He's there to more teach the team and give them competition.
Uh-huh.
And we'll see if it works out. I was not real thrilled that they got Will Howard, because here lately their record's been crappy as far as quarterback or any other picks. I think it's about time for Mr. Tomlin to take a early retirement. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
When you're making $3 and $4 million a year for standing there watching your team lose, I mean, that's going to be affected somehow.
Yeah.
Who is it that owns Pittsburgh now?
I think it's the Rooney still.
Is it?
I think. But no.
You know, I want to say this. You said the other idiot. I was just wondering who you were referring to earlier in the show there when you were talking about Cleveland.
Oh, you know what other idiot? The one that can't keep his legs together in more than one way.
Well,
You're never going to see him in a Browns uniform again.
yeah.
You really aren't.
So you think his career is over?
He may get traded somewhere else, but it ain't going to be for the kind of money he made here.
No.
Because he's pretty much, that's toast.
Yeah. And, the thing about his money was, his contract was front loaded. So, all that guaranteed money was up front.
I kind of think that Cleveland is going to make a little bit of that money back, though, because they made him, when they re-signed him this last time, they made him take an insurance policy out that Cleveland would get so much per game that he misses. And
Yeah.
I like to, he ain't going to be back this year. I don't see it. He's still got 2 years on that idiotic contract. And I don't see the guy's just not got it anymore. It's
Mm-hmm.
he's in a downturn. He can't keep himself healthy. How are you going to play that?
True that.
But
I saw some. Speaking of quarterbacks, I saw some interesting deals. So I was looking at some QB rankings,
Right.
and another one of your favorite quarterbacks was ranked in the top 10.
yeah, whatever.
Well, they didn't have a bad season either.
Gordon, when am I going to finally teach you that Baker is always going to be Baker?
Well, and on the outside of the NFL, he's become a lot more mature.
Yeah.
I don't care about maturity or what. He gets nervous feet. He flops around like a dancing penguin. And
What is he doing? He's starting.
And they're winning games, And let's face it,
like Browns fan want a quarterback that plays, but they're not consistent.
He's done fairly well.
Well,
all things considered.
All things considered, you just with Baker would have never ever made it here. He would have never done it, and it took him 2 different teams over 2 different years to find that maturity, and it was because he didn't have any hard knocks up here. That's why, he was given carte blanche. Everybody loved him and all that until he started screwing up. And then he was detrimental to the team. It could happen down there. You just never know. But Baker will always be Baker. He gets nervous and he makes decisions he thinks is right, and that doesn't, he ends up losing games for him.
Mm-hmm.
And even the ones I watched last year, it's the same way. He ain't really. Playing-wise, he ain't really matured that much, I don't think.
I thought I got to give it to I thought he played well. One of those games, I really couldn't fault him. And then, but, again, like I say, I think he's turned out to be a serviceable quarterback. And realistically, I always felt like he could be. I just felt like he did lack some maturity. And then when they left Cleveland, he went to a dumpster fire. So in his defense, that was a dumpster fire. Carolina, there was no quarterback in the league that could have done anything down
And it seems like that's going to continue to be the norm.
Carolina.
Yeah.
And
They're coming out.
they're on the come out. Bryce Young had his best year last year.
With Carolina, that was one of the later additions to the league.
Mhm.
And when they came into the league, they actually had a lot going for them that the Browns never had, because the NFL was pissed at the Browns. They were pissed at Modell and everything else for leaving. But when it came down to it, they didn't really. When they put that team together, within 3 or 4 years, they actually made the playoffs, and they were halfway decent. And then all of a sudden, the playoffs get over with, and everything starts calming down around them. And it's just the way football works out sometimes. And it ended up. I don't fault the team itself. I fault some of the management that they've got there. Some of it could be a lot better.
Mhm.
And until you get to, it seems that these regimes like Pittsburgh and
Mhm.
it used to be New England, and even now with Kansas City, where all they got to do is walk in and they win already.
Well,
But
last year they didn't, and they didn't win, and that's another thing. KC, is that an end of an era for that team? What do you think? Or you think they'll possibly be back?
I kind of wonder if what's his name, Aaron's, is going to come back. I'm not sure, because he was the one that actually, his old man experience did a lot for that team to keep it together, and he had kids that were listening to him, and they were winning games.
Yeah.
But as far as, I think they may have peaked as far as Super Bowls.
Who's that?
KC.
KC.
They're getting a couple players back that were on injured last year.
Yeah.
Rasheed Rice, especially.
Yeah, and what we did now, keep in mind, and I asked that question because of this right here. Keep in mind that they went from being an offensive superpower, the juggernaut, to they were just getting by, and their defense. We saw their defense get so much better, but they. All the injuries and everything else. And don't get me wrong, I still say that Pat Mahomes is, he's just one of those guys that knows how to win games, And, of course, with Philly, they went the wrong approach there, because they saw, in the Super Bowl, I think their thought process was, you know what, they're not going to beat us with the run game. After they, you look at that, and so they allowed Hurts to just be, play, because there wasn't much pressure on him, and no one. Well, put it like this, we didn't question his talent. We know that they went through some things with offensive coordinators and all these things since he's been there. But because he's a dual threat quarterback, they were still able to beat them. And I think their game plan, they got out-coached as well as they got outplayed in the Super Bowl.
You think Philadelphia's? You think they outcoached the Kansas City? Huh? I kind of think that too, to be honest about it.
Yeah, if you look at it, their game plan was to stop Saquon.
Mm-hmm.
And they were successful with that. But to the fault of letting those receivers go and letting Hurts make plays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as far as the Kansas City goes, I think the Eagles actually had some did some line changes during that year
Uh-huh.
that really made them a lot better. That first Super Bowl that they were both in looked to me like they were, they had a bunch of injuries and stuff like that. I think that had an effect. But it's always in that league and that it's always the next man up.
Right.
You take somebody falls down, and the next man's up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing I wish Cleveland would learn. And they need more depth than what they've got. I don't know how they're ever going to do that.
And one thing Philadelphia knows how to do is draft.
Man, they've had some really good drafts over the last several years. That they have had. Now, saying that, I wonder what the what are they? The Commanders, the Redskins. I wonder what the Commanders are going to be like because they did show some promise. You
got Lamar Jr. on that team.
Yeah, that kid, that quarterback is something else. And
I think he's better than Lamar was at that point.
So
we'll see.
We'll see what happens with them. Now, I don't want to be jinxed, but can this kid stay healthy? Because as much as he likes to run, he's going to take some shots.
Yeah. Don't you think that at this point it looks like the Ravens are starting to fall out of the first spot?
Man, we'll see.
I don't think their players are getting older than that now. And I'm not so sure what they've gotten left in the tank.
Yeah.
The receiving core there probably dead. Now they've had better receivers now, but for a while they really didn't have the greatest receiving core, or they couldn't stay healthy. And then it's a tough spot because when you look up there where they're at, and there's in the AFC, and there's KC, and then that other quarterback over there, that big country boy, Josh Allen, he built different.
Yeah, that's about it.
Man.
Yeah, I think the other ones that I'm curious as to what they, as far as Washington, that I kind of think that they're one of the teams that's starting to claw their way to the top.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping to see. Let's face it, they could have ended up in a Super Bowl this year or last year because of the way they played in that. They actually were becoming a fairly decent team. But, a lot of this comes down to two, and we've had this big old discussion before, is about the refereeing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I hear what you say.
the refs will either make you or break you.
Well, I looked at them and I watched them when they played Philly. And the one game Hurts went out. So come on, that team was a different team when they brought in the backup quarterback. As well as
Who was the backup quarterback last year for Philly? Kenny Pickett.
Yeah. But they were a different team.
He still won,
They, without Hurts, but so watching Washington, and I know Nate, anytime his team doesn't win, he's going to blame referees, but he isn't here to defend himself. So I'm going to just say it.
Yeah,
but
I've known a few people like that.
yeah, I wish, hey, again, they were a healthy team and they got beat by Dallas.
Well, Cleveland was a healthy team too, and they got their asses handed to them.
Yeah. Well, Cleveland wasn't.
Hang on a second. Sorry about that. The button's sticking. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. As far as the depth at quarterback is one thing. I would just like for 1 year to see Cleveland actually do what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But chances of that, well, we'll see, I guess. You got to have there has to be management from the top down with the stuff. What they've got in this middle management, they're just, I have no confidence in them at all. Andrew Berry being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that scouting team that they've got has made some prolific screw ups.
Mm-hmm.
But that, we'll see what happens. I guess with a lot of the stuff, I know I've been watching the little bits and pieces of the news here and there. You only got another month until that until training camp starts anyway.
Yeah.
A little over a month. I guess I'm getting ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let's move into a little bit of the basketball stuff.
Yeah, that was game one. That was a crazy finish there.
Yeah. Agree. Crazy finish. I know we initially said, Shawn and I are both thinking that we're thinking OKC is going to be the NBA champion this year. And in that, before we move on, let me say this. These are, to be honest with you, I thought maybe early on OKC had a chance, but I do not see Indiana. But again, Indiana's got a pretty good coach. He was run out of Dallas because he and Luka couldn't see eye to eye.
Speaking of Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
is there something going on with Cuban? Is he having health issues or something? You heard anything?
Well, he doesn't own it. He only owns a minor now.
Yeah. He stepped down, and I think the biggest thing is
He also stepped down from Shark Tank too.
Yeah.
He quit.
I think he's going political.
That's what I think. I think he is.
You're not the only one thinking that.
Yeah, I think he's going to jump in there.
That's why I brought it up here. I kind of wonder if he may have political aspirations.
Well, one of the things that's going on down here is they're trying to get
The
gambling going. So
they
want to build a stadium out where the old Cowboy Stadium was they want to do a casino out there along with the stadium for the Mavericks.
Yeah, well, I watched Shark Tank's last thing for the season, and I was pretty shocked that he he actually told everybody, he said, I got other things on my plate and I just can't handle this anymore. And so I'm going to retire. And yeah, it's a shame because I always liked that guy. Had his investments were a lot of times snap judgments, and he does pretty well for himself, you know.
I'll say he has a billionaire.
Yeah, the one I was watching last night they had this thing where it was a massager, and it goes on about 10 minutes, and then the guy that was selling the stuff says, you know, even Mark, you could use this. He says, no, he says, I don't go into massages. If I want a massage, I'll just go to my team. My team doctors will do it for me. Kind of cool. Don't you wish you had that kind of stuff on? And I want to go for massages this weekend. I think I'm just going to roll it. I'll just roll into the team and let them do it to me.
Well, you know what? Now, Deshaun Watson, he had his deal with the massages as well.
Yeah, he had his team.
He had his team.
As far as Watson goes, that's a complete almost ridiculousness.
Watson and what's his name?
Antonio Brown?
No. The kicker from Baltimore. They're brothers in arms now. Tucker.
Oh, okay. yeah. But and with Watson, I think he should have just been doing his own massages.
Well,
I'm sorry. It's family show, man.
This could get so political, Gordon. We're not even going to go there.
I'm sorry, man. God.
As you could talk about legality of it all, you could be amazed at the subjects that would bring up as a sub channel. And I don't think we got enough time on this show to do that.
No, we don't want to do that.
It just seems to me that I can't imagine being that rich. Of course, I heard something the other day that the places where the most money in the world are the ages is 65 and over. Those are the richest people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of goes to figure. Nowadays, because you've made so much money as far as your work careers and stuff like that.
Yeah, work careers.
These new kids starting out, they just ain't got the ambition that some of the others do.
Well, I think they'll get there, but the thing about it is a couple things with that. I mean, you got to learn how to manage money. It was years before I knew that money makes money. And I heard the saying that it takes money to make money. And that is a profound statement. It really is true. I didn't know how to let my money work for me when I was younger. And these are things that we need to teach our children early on, because, investments and things like that. And the other part of that is the reason you have more in your pocket is for a couple of reasons. Well, you're at the end of your career, you're probably making more money than you made in the past. Your salary, and then also you have less debt. Those are things that the debt to earn ratio. Those are the things that a lot of us don't really pay attention to until we get older. And
that's something that should be taught in school.
And it should be taught, and actually, it should be taught by your family. A lot of us, Pat, you and I, we grew up in an era where our parents they were great survivors. I put it like that. they were really good at, they knew how to save money, but they weren't into investing money.
Well, I think a lot of that comes from the 20s and the Depression and everything like that went on back then. That's where my mom was born in 30, and we never, but there again, she worked her ass off. She had two different jobs she was trying to survive on. And she,
Yeah.
of course, my dad had left by then, and my stepfather moved into the role. Well, it was those my parents and my grandparents were all raised and lived through the 20s and 30s.
True that, and but in some of that in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, again, our parents didn't know about investments, and as you know better, you do better. It is what it is. And I really didn't take the time because I was living for today, and being a young person, man, when you grow up and you want the new shiny stuff.
You want the finer things.
You want those things that you think are the finer things in life. And now, one of the finest things in life for us is good health and peace of mind.
Yeah, that's true too.
That's at the top of my list. So with all that, all the shiny crap, it doesn't really mean that much. It's nice I'm a guy. I still love, the cars and motorcycles and things like that. I like that stuff, but it's not as important to me, and especially clothes. We don't, I'm not about clothes. Man, I'm not trying to impress anybody, man. I could walk around in shorts and t-shirts or jeans and shirt all day long. I don't worry about all that other.
I can definitely relate to some of that. If you saw the inside of my house, you'd see where I've went with that craving. I've got radios and computers and radios and more computers and podcasting stations and all kinds of stuff like that. Do I need this stuff? Well, it's fun. Do I need it? Well, it's fun. But do I need it? Probably not.
No.
My world wouldn't end today or tomorrow if I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And I realize that. But I like it, It's
Right.
good for fun.
Absolutely. You're doing you now, whereas when you're young, you worry about your peers and what people think of you. And to be honest, Pat, you're at a point in your life where you really don't give a damn about that. I'm just being honest.
That's about right.
But not to sound, any way off kilter, but I don't worry that much about what other people think, because what I realize is most time we don't think, because if we did, we wouldn't do and say some of the things we do.
That's true. I know as far as me, I got a big old truck in the driveway. I like that. It's all paid off, so I don't have to worry about losing it. But I think if if I had to trade it off and go with something else, I wouldn't like it, but I'd probably do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way life is.
Yeah.
And I was one of those when my kids were young. We lived from paycheck to paycheck. There was no other way to do it. And you got paid, you lived within your means until them nasty credit cards came along, and it's kind of funny because they always want you to buy more, and use our credit card. But if I do that, I'm going to be paying for it for the next 10 years.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, when interest rates are where they are on credit cards, you're paying 30% more for what you bought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna charge 30% on the top of what you paid for it.
Yep.
So it's and then you wind up chasing your tail. But now also we're at that end where you get that point where, okay, my income is this. So now but you have life experiences. So with all that to be said, I understand why the people with the most money are our senior members. I saw that maybe I was in my 40s, 30s, late 30s, early 40s. I was looking at it at church, and the consistent contributors were mostly senior citizens of our church.
Well, I said, they said that 75% of the money now is owned by the old people.
Yeah.
And I got no problem with that. I'd like to see, you have to earn your way through life, It's,
yeah.
And you get to points where you've probably made a wrong decision or two, and it's going to end up costing you money.
Yeah. But you learn from, hopefully.
What you learn, you live and you learn.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, we've touched baseball. What's going on down there as far as baseball goes?
Rangers are under 500, I think, right now.
Yeah,
They're struggling.
They're struggling. They are a little below mediocre at this point.
Did you see where they're wanting to whatever that word is, posthumously, they're wanting to get Joe, or what's his name, that used to play for the Cincinnati Reds. What's that, Flora? Pete Rose, yeah. They're wanting to put him posthumously, I guess is the word. They want to loosen it up, and even our illustrious president is trying to talk the MLB into loosening up the rules a little bit. I don't know if I agree with that or not. That would be almost like putting Modell in the Hall of Fame. He didn't need to be there.
I don't know.
He was caught cheating, and especially at a time where people had such trust in these teams that if you farted wrong, they'd come after you with a hatchet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with. I don't know about that one with Pete Rose, but at the same time, I mean, if you do that, then put Bonds in. He used steroids, and a whole lot of them that used just didn't get caught. Or a lot of them is common knowledge now that they're in there, but they did use steroids. The Mark McGuire and Marco McGuire and Sammy Sosa's and what's the name? Pitcher Roger Clemens. Yeah. I mean, these guys. Everybody was juicing. But I'm glad. I'm happy that they've cracked down on that. But at the same time, that was the era we were in. So in that, when you start loosening it for all of them. Then who cares? At that point. No one is people aren't going to, anybody that knows baseball would be, that'd be a bold-faced lie to say Barry Bonds wasn't a good player, as well as say, he didn't use steroids, but hey, I mean, he was a great player before he started juicing, but and I still think it's still out there. I just don't think they know how to control it. you know. Mm.
Yeah, as far as the steroid thing is concerned, if they're going to loosen it up enough to put Rose in there, then they're going to have to do that with the steroids thing too.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, of course, then again, if you look at it another way, they might be, what they've done is was illegal at one point, but now that you've got marijuana legal halfway across the country and stuff like that, and what's to make, why is it so bad?
Yeah. Well,
So
let's
it
do it.
sets a wrong.
Like prohibition.
It sets the wrong precedent. So
Yeah, it does. It
I've
does.
always thought that. That as far as something else I would kind of bring up, but I don't remember what it was now. As far as the influences that are on young people,
Yeah, I agree.
and
Yeah.
right now as it sits, you do have some very oxymoronic things that go on in these sports things and that. You tell everybody don't use drugs, and then half of the people that are in something like that, you teach, they go ahead and I'm going to use it just so that I can win a little bit better. The one thing that I do see here, and that happens every 4 years, is the Olympics don't put up with that juicing stuff at all. And that's the way it ought to be.
And I agree. The performance enhancement drugs and all that, just take it all the way out, and, I agree with that. There'll be places where it's always going to be used. I like exercise and everything, and that bodybuilding, man, they're still doing that stuff.
You're going to love my comment here in a second. You better grab onto the sides of your chair. When things have gotten so screwed up that the richest man in the world is on ketamine, and he's having a squabble with the president who's probably also on something like that. It's something. I have said this a million times before. I am living in a world that I completely do not understand.
I agreed. I heard a little bit about their squabble. I guess their honeymoon is over. The accusation's been put out there, and I'm like, because I'm one of those people that when you start talking about politics, man, for the most part, I turn a deaf ear. But I'd be.
I watch it for the comedy.
I did say that it's been a little bit entertaining anyway. Just to hear.
I look at it for the comedy.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a little bit entertaining, because I'm one of those people. Like I say again, I don't get into the whole political.
I don't either.
I have yet to find someone that I 100% agree with. Although I've heard people say on either side of it that, I agree with everything this, our president says or does, and I'm like, I'm full of spit.
Well, I'll hear sometime. I'll have to tell you about what I know about some of this stuff.
Agreed.
I think the place that it could have the biggest effect is on the space program. But that's for another show too.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you guys have another show for that. Yeah, so there's another platform for that one. But
yeah, 2 weeks from now, or 2 weeks from Monday, or a week from Monday.
I'm going to start tuning in more to that every now and again as well. It's just that, man, I stay busy. I stay busy doing my own thing.
And there's one of the things about having a show like that is it kind of limits what, if I injected that into all the shows, like unfortunately like we're doing now, we'd lose half our audience because they wouldn't agree with what I had to say.
Right.
But when you get into an argumentative thing like that and call it the art of argument, it gives it a whole different perspective and it becomes more accessible.
Yeah.
The fact is, when anything that I say is coming from an attitude from a 71-year-old man that's actually seen some of the crap that goes on in this world.
Right. And it's like anything else, my opinion or your opinion, in the grand scheme of things, my opinion shouldn't have mattered to everybody.
Yeah.
You live your own life.
I agree with that too. It's just, there's not much you can do about it. That's, of course, then again, that's why we have sports shows here, because I like talking sports.
Yeah.
Never thought I would. That guy that's sitting next to you, Gordon, is another one. As he was coming up through his teen and other years, he was one of the biggest sports fans you'd ever want to meet.
Yeah.
You could ask him, hey, Shawn, what's the statistics for this certain? What was the statistics for Barry Bonds? Snap, it's over. Yeah, she'd come right out with it. And I think that's why he fits in so well here.
Yeah.
Right, Shawn?
Yes. Right, Cookie Monster. But there's I worked with a guy several years ago, and he was really big on high school football. And you talking about statistics. I could walk in there and ask this guy, he's older than me. He's since retired and all that. And I could ask him, and he happened to be a great athlete when he was coming up as well. I think he played a little professional football back in the day. But I could walk in and ask him, as far as Texas high school football, I could say, hey, who won the Double A championship in 1970? And he could tell you. Well, who won it in 4A in 70? He could tell you this stuff. I mean, he could just rattle off this stuff, and I was like, wow, this man's something else. And he was a cool dude, but you'd have to get used to him because every other word out of his mouth was a colorful word. And he was the one guy who could call you SOB and use it as a term of endearment.
Yeah,
and
I know those kind of people.
He's a cool dude, though.
I was on Facebook the other night, and somebody was, I don't remember what it was talking about, but somebody had made a statement about you're an idiot. And the first thing that pops out of my mind was you must be from Venus and your mother was a crack whore. And I didn't get banned yet.
Okay.
It's just one of them things, I'm just talking about sports. Anyway, I think we probably beat this up enough today.
Absolutely.
We are going to be, I think we can wrap it up unless you guys got something else.
I have nothing else. I think we did our hour, so.
Hopefully next week we can get Nate in here. As I said before, we'll probably do one more week, which will be next Saturday. And then I'm going to be off for a week because I've got amateur radio field day and I got to be there for that.
Okay.
By this time, we're going to be setting up. I'm getting everything ready to roll.
Okay.
So as far as what's next up on the station here, we've got Radioactive coming tomorrow night. I found an opening that for those of you that are fans of that, I found an opening from a show you just don't hear much about anymore, and it's still pretty decent comedy. We'll probably run with that, and I don't know what topics we'll get into. I know we'll probably have a full crew again, at least as far as I know.
Okay.
So we will, and then a week from Monday, we'll have the Art of Argument again, and then we come right back to here, which will start at 11 on Saturday.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, y'all have a good week, and hopefully we'll get some more decent sports news and be able to cuss and swear and everything else, and say Pittsburgh sucks and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yepers.
All right.
So anyway, y'all have a good week. We will talk to y'all later on.
All right.
All right.
7-3 y'all, and catch ya. This has been a Crooked River Media production.
Gotta run. Man, my sore up.
See you. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and close it up too, Sean.
All right, Dad. You take it easy. I'll talk to you later.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.